Yeshua, your King of praise. Shalom, everyone. This is Messianic Rabbi Buzz Tremé, the Jew teaching you. Welcome to our Bible study. Yeshua, you are the way. Yeshua.
So, God in His wisdom, we need never think He's doing this. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Russia started, they jumped on Ukraine. Man, what in the world can I do about this? Do you think He's intimidated? If you're still feeling that way in your mind, you need to get rid of the fear and let faith arise and trust in your God. He's got this. And Yeshua is in charge. Oh man, He's your best friend. He's in charge. Boy, I mean, that makes us pretty doggone. Makes you want to strut, huh? Just joking, Lord. And so, it's important that I say these things because you're getting it, aren't you? Yep. So when you get to, after the spring feast, it was about the Passover lamb. Passover lamb. What is a lamb? He's immature. Who was it for? The immature. But who was it overall for? Aimed at? The firstborn nation. So it was all about firstborn. All of that was about the firstborn. And then we go forward, and there's a feast coming. Guess what is sacrificed at the Day of Atonement? Because see, you have the sounding of the shofars, the Feast of Shofars. The fall feast begins. It's to call Israel to the Lord, where they'll search their hearts, make sure they got their name in the book of life. They'll have national revival. Then comes the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, the Day of Covering. They're going to, as a nation, experience this. But guess what the sacrifice is? It was always a lamb in the early days, but now we shift and it's a ram. A ram is the adult being sacrificed for the adults. So when Israel comes into maturity, they will recognize the ram, the atoner for their sins. God has got this thing laid out so beautifully, and all of the feasts are worked out so well. The high priest had to go in and sacrifice. Guess what? He sacrificed for himself before he could even mediate for the others. And it was a goat ram. Goats have to be driven. Sheep's follow, goats butt, right? But it was a ram. In other words, and Passover could be either. It's just cool how God did this. And so when you get to the atonement being made, the priest had to sacrifice a bull. Why a bull? Because the first letter of the Aleph Bet, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, is the bull. And he's the symbol of God being first, the strongest, the sign of strength. So Yeshua comes as the bull of God, the firstborn, the first of the firstborn. He's the one that qualifies the firstborn to keep their status. He's the bull. He's the strength of God. All of God is in this bull of a man. Boy, isn't that something? And then you go back to the golden calf incident. You know, the Gentiles have just about ripped that into a fairy tale. It's a calf. He's a little meh. Oh, no, that's not how cows do. What do they do? Bah or bah. I don't know. I'm a city boy. See, no. Yeah, moo. Yeah, something. But the point is, when that event happened, what did they make? We pictured as a calf. The Bible says it was a young bull. Naturally, the image, and it starts with the Hebrew alphabet. That's a sign of strength. And they realize God is the strength. Their God, our God, the Hebrew God, is the bull of the gods that beat the heck out of those Egyptian gods. And so that was their understanding. The problem was the living God was trying to show them, and that's just why it's in the beginning of the Ten Commandments, you can't do this by images. So those guys were right in their thinking. They were just immature in what they were doing. So they created a bull. The bull, it's the Ur ox. You know, they're finding the bones, or Stonehenge. They're all the bones that were sacrificed all around Stonehenge in England, the Ur ox. They find their bones all over the world, and they're trying to recreate it. Hitler tried to recreate it because it became extinct in late 1700s, I think, or maybe 1800s. You can look it up, the Ur ox. And it is this bull that is on steroids. And that's the image of God, and that's the first letter of the Aleph Bet. The word for father is the Aleph, the bull, and the house. And that's the word Av. If it's personal to you, you'll add a second bull, and then you pronounce it Abba. Okay? And you know what? How Hebrew works, boy, I can't wait to teach this stuff. You take the little letter, hey! It's a picture of a man doing this, hey! And then you always put it in there, and use it in a word for emphasis, to get attention. And you take the word father, the A and the B, the Aleph and the Bet, the bull and the house, and you spread it, and you put the guy in the middle. This is the word love. Achav is how you pronounce it. So father, who is the bull, the strength, the first of everything, who it's all about his house. And in Hebrew, the idea is not how a house looks, it's what's in the house. You have this bull, and then you have somebody in the center going, hey, don't miss this. There's only one true love, and it comes from the Father. Is that gorgeous? Remember Avram? How you say it in English? Abram? Okay. Avram in Hebrew. It means Av, that word for father. Ram, multitude. Okay? Well, God says, I'm changing the name now that you and I are in covenant. And he takes the hey and puts it in the multitude. And it goes Avraham. And I've heard it taught, God breathed into it. That is so foreign from you just have to learn Hebrew to understand it. But that's not what happened. God didn't breathe into it and change his name. He put the hey in there saying, you're going to be not only the father of a multitude, but an awesome multitude. So he's magnifying that multitude with that character. It's the H sound. So Avram becomes Avraham. Abram becomes Abraham. However that works. Don't you love this stuff? If you don't love it, you just got to be dead, huh? So, back to this. Oh, this is good, huh? Do I like it? Yes, I like it. So, 400 years after the Noahic covenant, and we have a new earth, new things happening, and the Bible gives us a lot of stuff about it. By the way, 11 chapters. This guy comes in at the end of the 11th chapter, Avraham. So the whole Bible is, all of the stuff that happened is like, it happened, but it's second in emphasis, priority to this. So you have 11 chapters of the Bible that serve as an introduction to this guy. And he comes on the scene, and God says, I've already made a covenant with all nations. Anybody who loves me from their heart and tries to let their life demonstrate that love, they have eternal life. They can't go to heaven, as we call it, or the sky, the third sky. They can't go there until Yeshua came. They couldn't go there until Yeshua made atonement through his blood. But all mankind have always been offered salvation. If you're wicked, guess what? One day the books will be opened and your name will not be in the book, right? But your deeds will be. Not good. So God calls Avraham and makes a special covenant. The covenant God made with Abraham is different from the one he made with Noah. So everybody has a blessed existence. Do you know that Abraham went down to Egypt and had experiences with Abimelech and King Abimelech and another guy? And it happens in generations after that. And these guys they rebuke Abraham for getting them in trouble with God. Abimelech, he says, you told me that was your sister, man. I've been hitting on her. I had a date planned for this weekend, and I looked out, and you and her were smooching. Y'all read Genesis? It's in there. And so he says, do you know that I could have brought her into my apartment and gotten in trouble with Yahweh? And he uses the word Yahweh, Lord. And Abraham says, well, man, I didn't go about this just right. She is my sister, though. What? Y'all know the story. Point is that Abimelech guy was a servant of God, but he was not in this family. He was probably a Hamite, Egyptian, then the Philistines, all of these different groups. So often you see they were worshipers of God. How about Moses? Moses leads the people out of Egypt, and he doesn't have a clue what to do with them, how to teach them to worship God. So he goes to his father-in-law, who's not one of Abraham's clan. He's not in the house of Israel. His name is Ruel or Jethro. One might be a title. We're not sure how that works, but whatever his name was, Zipporah's father. Moses went to him and said, you're the priest of Midian. Would you show me how to worship God? He goes, absolutely. What is Moses going to this guy for? And now you hear people teach on it and say, he was a heathen. No, he wasn't a heathen. Do you know that Abraham had 3 women? Had children by 3, had sons by 3 women. Who was the first woman that he had a child with? Who was the first child he had? Ishmael. Okay? Ishmael's mother was an Egyptian. She was a Hamite. Hagar. Yeah, Hagar. She is a Hamite. So he produced a child by a child. Yeah, he fathered a child through a descendant of Ham. Cool? But God said, but Ham's descendants, they're not the plan. The plan is through Sarah's boys, Yitzhak. So she gives birth. Sarah is a Shemite. She's from Shem. Hagar was from Ham, a descendant of Ham, an Egyptian. Sarah is a descendant of Shem. She produces Yitzhak, Isaac. Is this beautiful? Sarah dies, doesn't she? And what did Abraham do? He married Keturah, who was a Japhethite. And he has a son by the name of Midian. And a few years later, here comes Jethro, who's a priest through the lineage of Abraham. But remember what God told Abraham? Make sure you bless Keturah's kids, but send them away now. They can't be a part of this group. The blessing to all humanity is coming through Yitzhak, through Isaac, not through Hagar's son, Ishmael, not through Midian. They all get blessed because they're Abraham's offspring. But the blessing comes through Sarah's offspring. Sarah was the Shemite. God, back to the 3 sons of Noah. Is that amazing? So I just wonder if God's really driving all of this, or he's just kind of like running into trees. And of course he's driving, man. We need to rejoice in it, huh? God, this is good.